Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Hyderabad Power Apps and Power Automate user group. And this is our April meetup. Today, we have two sessions as part of our agenda. And Swami will be talking about the components communication in Angular 11. After that, I will spend some time on going through the latest feature which is released in Canvas app about the print. So I am going to cover through that part. Okay, so I think we can get started now. So Swami, over to you. So you can start.
Hey, thanks, Ritika. Hey, guys, thank you so much for joining on this Saturday. And here is the location of the source code for this session 4. So you'll find this documentation as well as this entire code. So if you go to the previous, if you want the previous session, 2, 3, and 4 are here. So you'll have this source code in this Vichy Pylor speaker underscore series underscore 2021 HPA-PA. That's the parent folder under which today is the fourth session. Okay, so what are we going to cover in this fourth session? We'll look into that, and before that we'll see that we are working on latest version, at least maybe one a point behind it might be, but it is 11.x. That's the version. 11.2.7. So that's the version we are working on, and Node.js is 14.16. And you can see this. We are seeing our package.json. It is in 11.2.4. So one thing what we can do is really we can come to that particular folder and bump up the versions to the latest version. So I'm just bumping it up. While that is happening, you can see this. The CLI is 11.2.7. And our existing package JSON, which we worked in the previous version, is 11.2.4. Now we are bumping up this to latest version, so that's it's bumping up to the latest version. Let it do that. In the meanwhile, we'll see what are we going to do. So this was the application which we hosted as part of our session 3. Now we will be doing this in session 4. So while doing this, we will be learning a lot of concepts. It's all hands-on sessions with concepts introduced as and when it is needed. Some of the concepts we introduce, but again, we'll revisit when we are discussing on in the next session. So that's how we are moving forward. So what are we going to do today? We are going to see what we have developed in the previous session, and then we do a little bit of cleanup on that, whatever we did it in the previous session, and then we'll go ahead with creating today's session. So technically we are converting ourselves from this model to this model. So while it's not only the visual look and feel or the UI changes, there are a lot of concepts which will come in between while we slowly progress from will transition from this look and feel to this look and feel. You can basically see that we have introduced a new concept, having an image, and another concept is having a icon instead of true or false here. So that's what we are doing now. I just want to start the SQL server also. Oh, we don't need the SQL server. It's my bad. So let me close that. So that's the session 4, and let's start with this. Here is the Firebase console, which we were using it yesterday in last session, last month, whatever we did it. Here is the URL. When we go to this URL, this is what we did it in the previous session. The same we are seeing here in session 3. So now we are going to deploy the latest. So you see this ng11 web app. That's what we developed in our previous session. Okay, I'll park this aside and let's go ahead with our current session. So we need to do a little bit of code cleanup. So we'll start from here. So what I will do is, this is our branch. So npm I. So it didn't pump, it installed. Let us see. Let us see this. Why didn't it installing? The version is older than the latest version. Installing this, let it install. If not, we'll proceed with the same version. It's not, we're not using any specific feature with the latest version, but just thought of to update it so that we'll be using the latest one. So we'll see what other changes. Oh, I'm sorry. Wait. I'm sorry. I was executing it at the wrong location. I should have done that command in this. My bad. So I did this. It's my bad. I did it wrong. I should have executed from here. So I'm executing it. So let it work. So the first thing what we are going to do here is do a little bit of cleanup. So any of those decent mid-sized to enterprise or even the small applications, if you organize that based on the modules, it will be very easy to locate a particular file or a functionality. Like you have an admin module or you have a employee module. So employee, all the employee list or employee view or employee edit or delete, everything, if you keep it in a single folder, it will be easy. Like all the header, footer, or any component which is shared among all these things, if you drop it into a shared folder, from the organization perspective, you know that where can you find those modules and everything, it will be easy. I mean, once this application grows a little bit bigger, the entire maintenance will be very easy. So we'll do that. Okay. So it is updating it. So whatever it updates, we'll see that. I think this, it didn't bump up. No problem. That should be fine. So the first thing what I will do is we'll go here and we'll create a folder called to be deleted, and I want to move all these inside that. Okay, here inside the components, I am creating a new folder. I'm calling it as a to be deleted, and inside this I want to move all these guys, this one, and this one. I want to move everyone. So I have moved it. So at this point of time, we don't have any of those things. Everything is moved. So we'll fix that. Don't worry. We'll fix that. So we moved everything here, employee login and everything. So let's do some cleanup over here. And first thing is we don't need this. We don't need this. We don't need this. We need it, but we don't need this. So I'll remove that. And I remove this professors component, and then we'll remove the employee login professors list. So I removed all these components. So npm I, so let's see that. Let's install the dependencies, and then we'll work through. Okay, it has created the node modules. Give it a minute. It will go and install these packages, and then we'll work through. That to be deleted we will remove at the end of the session. but we'll keep it for the time being so that we can start doing the lift and shift. That was missing. That is the reason it didn't work. The previous command, it didn't work. Okay. Anyways, that cleanup, it will be happening. So then what we did this cleanup also. And what we have to do is we have to create another folder. We call it as a shared, because this top navigation under this components will create a folder called shared, and the top navigation should go under shared. Okay, and then we'll fix the app module. So if I come in here, so that should fix the top navbar component. It should come from shared. So that is being done. So next thing is I'll go and open a new console, and we'll start creating with the footer. So cd, okay, so that is here, and looks like it is installing the packages. I'll close this. We'll get some extra space. I'll close this, and let's go here, and let's create a new footer component. So this cleanup, let's wait before we going to the next step. I just want to hold on here. It's installing all those packages, and we should stop seeing this red squigglies, because the moment it installs all these dependencies, it will stop. It'll stop showing the red squigglies. Now it is installing this one. Let's give this a minute. I thought I had this, but I didn't realize until this command, which was almost it is done. So while it is doing, we'll come back and discuss about what we are doing it. So what we are basically doing is we are doing a cleanup where we saw that bunch of folders hanging around here under the components. And if you see employee or professors list or login, we don't know for under which module this particular functionality belongs. All are lying in the same floor, flat. So to organize that based on the functionality or a module will be easier from the organizing perspective, the code organization perspective, and also it will be easy for us to know which class or a component exists under which folders. It will be very easy and also we know that the navigation will be very easy apart from other benefits. So that is the reason we are doing that first thing. And the next thing what we are doing is we will be creating a footer component, and that's how in this previous episode when we deployed our application, we had only the header component. We didn't have any footer component. So the next thing what we will do is we will start with the footer component. So that's what we will do next. And this package installation is taking pretty long time. No problem. Whatever it needs, let it take. Okay. In the meanwhile, we'll go and execute that footer component, even though we don't use it, just to save the time. So what I have to execute is I have to execute this command over here. What? My browser is stuck. Okay, it gave the control back. So we'll come back to this place. Well, it's executing. Let it execute. So I'll come back over here and I will create a new footer component. So it has to create the footer component under this shared folder. Uh, for some reason, you see this, it has created under this components shared. It has to create app, source app, components, shared footer. Yes, it is here. Let me refresh it. Okay. See that? See the app. And let me check that. Components. And we have shared. Okay. We have this footer and top navbar. We see this. Those two things has been properly placed it. And yeah, now looks like it is going to give us the control. All those yep, now it has given the control. Now right now we have that, and the other command which we executed previously didn't work. That's because we didn't have the dependencies, so that was the reason it didn't recognize. So now that we have all the NuGets, sorry, this npm packages, all the packages are here, and you see those once the npm install is there, after we execute this command, all the red squigglies which we have seen here, everything is gone. And now we are updating ourselves from the previous version of Angular to the latest version. The previous was 11.2.4. Now it will install it in a moment. Let's give it a second for that, and it will give us the control back. Sometimes it takes a little bit longer. I don't know, maybe because of my internet speed. By the way, let me check my internet speed. Yeah, it's okay. It's 40. It's 30 plus, so should be good. Okay. So never mind. We don't want to do all these things now. So now I do npm start. So let's see what do we have at this point of time. So we will not use any of those things. I will close it, and let's see that once it builds, it should show only with the top navbar and a plain background. That's it. It should show it is compiling, and it will start in any moment, and we'll take it from there. Let it give us a control, and we'll go from there. For some reason, it is a little bit slow today. Okay, cool. So you can see this. It has given us a control, and that's what we are seeing, and we don't see any errors in the console. It's pretty clean. Okay, so that's good. So what do we do now? Now we know that here is the shared component, and here in this modules we know that we only have the I will take it here. So these all application and these are framework related. So we have the footer. So we have to use this footer. So we need to come back to shared and go to this footer. Here is an app selector. So that selector will be using here. Okay, that selector will be using here. So once we use that selector, it recompiles it and you should be able to see the footer here. Footer works. Okay, that it displays. Okay, that should be fine. So we'll slowly progress from that to um, uh, from that to another one. So from that we'll come back to this position where we will see and create the footer. So at this point of time, it has got a paragraph tag. So now I'm using this HTML tag, and it's not able to find it. So let's go and copy the method in the TypeScript of this footer. So let me come back to this footer and I'll add this one. So if you see that it has got this message, and the year 2021 is dynamically computed. So what concept we are covering there? So we'll quickly look into that. The concept what we are covering there. If you see in this footer component, what we are covering is we are covering how do you call a method. So while doing the string interpolation, previously we saw that if we had a property here, we went and used that property inside our HTML markup or the view. Now what we are doing is, if you come and see that, we have a method here in our component, and we are invoking that method inside our markup, that too in a string interpolation fashion. That means within this we are invoking that. So that's when it is going and computing the current year. If you see this, it is coming and computing the new date, get full year. So that's how we are seeing this year 20 to 2021. So you see this one here the copyright year 20 to 2021. So that's good news. And the next thing is we have to take the footer styles. I'm copying the footer styles, and let's paste the styles here. So if you come and see this, it is occupying the band here itself, because there is no content, it occupies here. So we can do two things. If you want, we can tell like this position is fixed, so that will take it and drop it at a fixed location here. So if you don't use that position fixed, what will happen is it will dynamically change its location based on the content between the header and the footer. If you see that in the app component, between the header and footer, we don't have any of those things right now. So that's the reason it is coming here. So if you drop it at the sticky, if you use that fixed location, so what happens is it goes to the bottom 0, and it goes to the bottom and it sticks itself there. So that means as and when the content grows, you see the scroll, but header and footer will remain fixed there itself. Let's keep it here and let's go step by step. So if you see this, while creating the footer component, what did we learn? We learned that inside the footer how to create a footer component, and we learned while doing the string interpolation, double flower brackets. Within the double flower brackets, in the previous session we learned how to use the property from the component to the markup. Now what we are doing is we have a method inside the component, and we are invoking that method inside this markup. That's what we are doing it here. If you see the if you see that here, within that string interpolation, you are invoking a method. So that's what we learned. And another thing is, not only in the string interpolation, we can invoke that as part of the property binding also. Okay, input type, I will take it as a text, and input type text, and I want the value. I want a value, so I will do the same thing, get current year, and I will close the stack. Now you can come back and quickly see that you are having the get current. Um, that should be the property binding, not the that way. It should be like this, property binding. So when you do a property binding, we can invoke this method. So you can invoke the method which is there inside the TypeScript component using the string interpolation, or you can do it here as part of the property binding. So that's two concepts which we have covered under creating this session, these two things. The next thing is, let's create a star rating component. Many of those applications, you see that they will give a rating and it will display the rating. So we will see that how to create this rating component. And what I will do is I will close this. Let me go here and do a cleanup. Let me come back here. Okay, so we have to execute this command. I just gave all the commands here. So first thing what we do is we'll execute this command, ng generate under components shared rating. So it goes and creates a folder called rating here. So the rating component appears. So the directive or the selector of the rating is this one. So let's come back to copy that, and let me remove all this code which we are not using. I will remove that and come back and use this rating component. And if I come here, so we have the header, we have the footer, and here it says that rating works. So the rating component, it is working. So that's pretty good. So we'll start building this rating component step by step. So the concepts what we are going to cover while building this rating component is, we will see that how can the rating component, whatever this we are seeing, the number of stars, sometimes it shows 5, sometimes 4.5 or 3-point change or 2, whatever it is fluctuating. So how does that happening? So before that, we have to learn one simple concept. 40 MBS is pretty cool. So let's see this. Here we have something known as the CSS overflow property. So for us, we need two things to learn. One thing is whether it is hidden, visible, or scroll. Let's focus only on this hidden or this one. So if you see, whenever the overflow is hidden, that means it is clipped. So rest of the component will be invisible. So if it is scroll, that means the rest of the component will be hidden, but you will have a scroll where you can go and scroll this. So that's what we are going to use it. Okay, that's one component. There are multiple components which we are going to discuss within this. And also we'll see that how can we assign a property or a value to a property binding. There are a couple of ways we can do. And also we'll see what is @ input and @ output. That means when a parent component wants to pass something to the child component. So @ input. So let me go to understanding components. Inputs and outputs. So you can see this. You can have this input and output. So what does input means? What does output means? So let's see that for a moment. So sending data to a child component. When a parent component wants to pass something from itself to the child, we use the input. That means the child component should have a property or a field with an attribute called input. With this decorator, it should have a property, and that particular property, the parent component, when we are using that directive, we will use that property name and pass the value. That means it is coming from parent to child. Okay, that means what should have, you should have a property with this decorator, and when we are using that particular item in your parent component, we'll use that same field name, whatever you have declared it. Here we have declared it as an item, so we use the same field name and then pass the value. So that's how it comes to this one. You can see this, the child selector. That means this is a parent component, this is the child selector. Whatever is the property name in your class, so you'll use that property name with this property binding syntax, and from the parent component you are passing the value, maybe the property or a string, whatever it is, you are passing it to the child. So that's how it happens. Okay, similarly, output is what happens is when a child component wants to flow the data from child to parent. So that means it most probably that will happen is through the event emitters. So you see that the output will declare an event emitter with output as a decorator. And what will happen is we'll create this event emitter, and after creating this event emitter, we will have an item, a method where it emits. It will call an emit, and we can pass a structure or an object or a scalar value, whatever we want, we can pass it from here. So it comes back to the parent component. So with these all concepts, bulleted point 3, 4, 5, and 6 will come back. So we'll see these things. Anyway, we are here. So let's have a quick look at the life cycle events also, because I don't prepare the slides, because all the documentation is given excellently by the respective frameworks. I don't feel that I need to create a separate documentation. I'll directly use their documentation, and that will be authentic. So you see this, every component will have a set of life cycle events that will happen. So today we'll do introduction to life cycle hooks kind of thing, where we will focus on only two things. We'll focus on this on init. So when do you use this on init? So you use on init when you want to invoke a backend. Once a component gets rendered, you want to do some other things, like you go and receive the data from the backend and populate the UI. You want to do such kind of things. This is the best place to do it. The constructor is not the right place. Constructor is for accepting this dependency injection, which we are going to discuss 2 sessions down the lane. But at this point of time, understand that ng init is we do a lifecycle look, and that's when you invoke the backend service and get the data, then populate it to this one. So we will going to do a little bit of improvisation, like a step 2 of this in next month's session. And today we'll focus on ng on changes also. Okay, the purpose, respond to Angular sets or resets data bound input properties. So whenever a data bound input properties changes, so this event will get triggered. Okay, so that's when we will go and handle this one. So we'll see the practically how we use all these things. So we'll proceed now that we have enough of the knowledge. Let's go and implement it. Just give me a moment, please. Okay, now we are ready. So the first thing, let's start with this. At this point of time, what is being displayed here? Nothing. It displays this one. The first thing what we need is we need a star. So I mean, there are multiple ways to create this component. This is one of the way. So first what we will do is we'll start with this. So we'll start with this. So that displays a star. And after displaying the star, what we do is we'll come and mouse over it. So it says that the size is 29.73. Okay. So it's almost 30 pixels. You can see this when I click it and go to this computed, and I select this. So you can see this star. It says that 29.72. It's almost 32 height and 29.75. It's almost 30 pixels. Now if you want 5-star ratings, so what we can do is displays 5 stars. But sorry, we already know that if you want to display 5 stars, there is no point in we going and copy pasting, because we use that ngFor in the previous session. So it is better to use the ngFor. So I will remove all these 5 stars, and what we do is we will come back to this one and use this. We need this array. We will create it in a moment, but just hang on for a second. Right now, what it is saying this, it is saying that we saw that ngFor loops through a collection of collection. So at this point of time, we don't have that star. So what we have to do is we have to come in here and create this collection. So what I will do is I will create this collection here. Step by step we'll go. Then you will understand why we are doing this. So now that we don't have anything in that object, it doesn't display anything. So if I give 0, comma 0, comma 0, so you're seeing that 3 stars. So if I create an array with two more zeros, that means my intention is to create a 5-star. So I'm creating 5-star rating or 10-star rating, whatever the star rating it is. All I have to do is I have to give it a proper set of array so that it goes and displays all these things. Okay, so I will remove this. So now that at least we understand that there is something which it is going to display. So that is the first point. And where are we using this? We are using it in here. So someone here in this component, this app component HTML, this guy is a parent and rating is a child. So we have to tell to the child, hey, go and give me 4-star ratings. So it should go and create the 4 stars. So what we will do is, for that reason, we will use this number of stars. So this is one of the input we are accepting, as we told that if something you want to accept it from the parent, so we will use this number of stars. So what I'm doing it here, I'll come back here and I'm telling that I want number of stars is 5 stars. So that's the first thing. So now what happens is it will come here and we have to, two things we have to do. We have to do an on init is when we will use it. Mostly any operations, once this objects get created, then you want to go and invoke the data bound operations and those kind of things. And this ng on changes is one more thing which we discussed. Is just now we have seen that when the input bound properties changes, that's when it gets triggers. So what we will do is, here we are telling that first we will see about this one. Here in this ng on init, you're saying that when initially when you start, the number of stars, we are creating an array. We are saying fill. That means it will create an array of 5 because it is 5. If it is 4, it will create 4. See, based on that, if I assign this value to 4, so that means it will be 4. Okay, I've created that there. Okay, so here if I say I want 15 stars, so it will give me 15 stars. So whatever you're doing it from here as a parent component, based on that, the number of stars will get created automatically. So that's the input. You're passing the input to this rating component. Rating component is a child of this app component. So from parent, you're passing the values to the child. That's one thing. Okay. Now you know that we have created. And the second thing what we will do is we have to go and based on the rating, whatever it is coming, we have to go and switch the gears. That means how much you want to show and how much you want to hide. Out of that five stars, not all people will get 5 stars. Some of the ratings will be 4, 4.5, or 3, whatever it is. So we have to create a couple of properties here: rating, bandwidth, and current rating, and the when rating clicked. We'll see one by one. So let's go, and I'll remove these two. First thing is we'll talk about the rating bandwidth. So how much of this we want to show that. So let's come and create this rating bandwidth. So that is dynamically we are computing. That means we know that the stars width is almost 30 pixels. So if you want, the number of stars will dynamically come. So if user says that he wants 5 stars, that means 30 pixel into 5. So that we are computing, and we'll have these two of these properties here. These two of the properties should be here, and also there is uh, one small CSS we will be using is this one. So now we have this, it shows properly. And what if I come back to this rating component and I go in here, and if I say that have only 80, you see this? So if it is 150, if this is 150, that means it is going to show all the 5 stars. If it is 140, that means some portion of the star will be missing. So what is happening over here is it is hiding. That's what we saw here in the documentation. So when you give this overflow as hidden, that means it will crop that, it will clip. The content is there behind, but it's not visible. So how do you prove that the content is there is if I comment this and if I uncomment this. Now if you come back to this, you see that still it shows the same one, but if you scroll, it the content is there behind, but it is hiding. So that's a difference. So all we are doing is we are computing how many stars we have to show. So based on the width, whatever the rating, if you give if you give, someone has given that 3.6 as a rating, so we know that 30 pixels is for 1 star, and if the rating is 2.7, so now if you come in here, that's the rating 2.7. Now if someone has given 2.4, based on that it does it. Okay, so this is a full bandwidth. Based on that we are creating the full bandwidth. Okay, and that's an initial bandwidth. Now when we get the current rating, from the user, at that time we have to recompute. Right now we are assuming this, whatever the number of stars into 30 pixels, that's a full bandwidth. So now we have to compute based on the user's input. So the user's input is again current rating, which should come from the parent. So the current rating should also be coming in from input. So we come back over here. Let's copy this current rating. That is the input. So we should do a property binding. I will come here. I will do current rating, and I'm telling that current rating is 3.7. Now you can see this. That's 3.7. If I do 3.2, so you can see that the star is getting it. Now we understand that. So let's go to the next thing. Now if I mouse over, it should show me, if I do a mouse over, it should show what is the rating. So for that we need to write the title. so which we already seen here. So the title is current rating. So if I come in here, title is current rating. So if I come back over here, I see the current rating is through 2.3. Suppose if I want to write like message, want to pass a current rating, it will not accept because it is assuming that this is a property of the component. It's like this. If you give the current rating, it knows that it is a property and it is able to do that. Now, if you want to assign some string, so you have to wrap that inside a single quotes within the double quotes. Now, if you mouse over, it shows the message whatever we are displaying. So that's a current rating. So this is the another type. So the concept what we discussed is the property binding revisited. Suppose if you give a property that assumes that this is an object, a property within your class. You want to give a string value, then within the double quotes, use single quotes, and that it considers as a value, string value, literal. Okay. Now that we have a decent understanding of this, let's go to the next step where we use the out property. Now, if someone clicks, I should know what is that employees rating. I need to know that employees rating. Let me go and remove that squiggly. The squigglies are gone. I just create an output. We saw that when we want to communicate, when the child wants to communicate something to the parent, so that's when we use this. Okay, so the next thing what we will do is we'll expose a method here. We'll expose this method and come back here. So we know that we have created a event rating clicked. So we can come back over here and we can mention that rating clicked is equal to when rating clicked is a method which we are invoking when rating clicked. So when rating clicked method is there, it is going to emit the current rating. Whatever is the current rating, it will spit. So wherever you are using, let's assume at this point of time we are using in employees. That means we need to have an handler for that. So that means we have to write an handler in the parent component. At this point of time, our parent component is app component. So we will have this here in this. And we know that we have this rating clicked event. We have this rating clicked event. And rating clicked, and we are going to pass event because here inside this app component we are getting that number, and where is that number coming? That number is coming from here. Is the application running? Yes, the application is running. Let's come back to this one. It's everything is success. Now if I come and click, if I come and click, let me see this. We are here. Here we said that rating clicked. When rating clicked, it should come. When rating clicked is here, and let's do console.log. When rating clicked, and okay, this binding didn't happen properly, so something is missing. Rating clicked. One second. Let's go to the rating component. Oh, this is on click. I'm sorry. On click. That's that's for this app component. Sorry, I got confused. That will be for the app component. Here on this component, if someone clicks it, so when someone clicks this, you see this when rating clicked, and current selected rating is 3.2. So that means what we are doing is we are, when you click on this div, that means we are invoking this method when rating clicked. When you click on the div, okay, I'll remove that. So what it is doing is we have an event emitter. It is doing event emitter dot emit, and it is throwing the current rating of this guy. So that will bubble back to the parent, and that is the event. The event name is rating clicked. So that's the event name, and we have to write our event handler that is on rating click. The current rating is a value with the number which is coming, and here current selected rating. This is from parent. So whoever is the parent, this is coming from the parent. So you click on this, so this parent it is coming. So that's the, now we have created a nice beautiful reusable component. So let me close that. So let me close all these reusable components. Let's go and create another component. So now that we have shared, we inside the shared we have top, nav, footer, and rating. So now I want to work with employees. So let me stop this and create the employees component. So we covered 4, 5, 6, and 7. So now let's go and create the employees component. So let me run this ng generate employees. So it's going to create a employees list component. Okay. Yeah.
Shamit, sorry to interrupt, but I just wanted to give you a time check. We have 5 minutes left.
Oh yeah, sure. I'll quickly complete this one. I might need extra 5 minutes, but not more. But I will wind it up real quick.
Okay, that's fine. Thank you.
Yep. Thanks. So let's come in here. I will bump up the employee this one. So then what we are going to do here is that we need to have one couple of properties. One thing is we need to have the array. We need to have the array. So first thing we'll take this array to hold set of employees. So I'll copy this employees here. Now that we have employees, so let's go and work on the UI piece. The UI piece is we'll do step by step. So I will go and block everything. So we'll start npm start. I mean, I blocked all the code, so we'll see step by step how we are progressing. So let me bring in the CSS needed for this employee component. Is it running? It will. Cool. So it's going to run. And this employee list is a component, and its selector is this guy, employee list. I am coming to this, and let me comment it. And we should see that 3 small tags has come. Okay. And then because we have an complete list, we have an ID, full name is picture, and some of the assets. Let me copy the assets that will speed up the process. Let me come in here, and inside the source, inside the assets, I have the images folder. So let me come in and copy that to our demo so that we'll start seeing the images. Okay, we have the images and everything is there. So let's start showing this guy's image. First div, I'm telling that that div should occupy 12 space. So first thing is we are getting a full name. It shows this in a 12 this thing. And the next thing what I'm telling is add this guy's image. So under that you want to show the image, image picture URL, and because this property is not there, it's not showing, I remove that. We don't need it. It has to show this. So we have that widget with dynamically. We are not copy pasting this code. It's getting created everything based on this object. And then what we do is we'll go and show this. You see that nice, beautiful representation. Instead of showing a tabular representation, we are showing everything through the card representation. So you do nothing is hard coded. Everything is coming through the coding. I mean, here we have hard coding the employees information. Like if you see, this is 21 and this is 23. Now you see this, the ages are differing, and you can see this Manpreet Singh is 3 point. I will make it to 2.7. Sorry, Manpreet, nothing. I'm just doing it for fun. So you see this based on that rating, it is getting adjusted. So everything, assume that you're getting the data from some backend service. So everything will get displayed purely based on whatever it is coming from the backend service. So nothing we are doing it from the front end. Everything is coming from the back end. So this is one of the representation. I thought of to showcase another one also, but I will mix that in our next demo because I thought of to quickly show you this professor list with the same images, but we are showing it in a different representation. This is like a card representation. Some people they want it like a list representations or a card with infinite scroll. Some people they want it the tabular representation with the paging concept. So this is a first step towards the representations. So eventually we're going to have the filtering, sorting, lot of paging and other concepts will come starting 2 or 3 sessions down the lane, but this is the first step towards that. So the same object if you have, you can do the 2 kinds of representation. You can have a card representation or you can have the table representation. Okay, so I think I took 2 minutes more. I will add more of the concepts and demos in our next month session. Back to you, Ritika.
Thank you, Swami. We have a couple of questions on the chat here.
Sure.
So is there any limit on number of parameters that can be passed to components?
No, it's purely the information how you want to send from child to parent. So how many types of emitters you expose, there should be a handler on the other side of the world. Like a child is emitting 2 emitters, so you should have the corresponding handlers there on the parent side. Technically it shouldn't. Like you said,
Okay.
Yeah, as you've seen that we took the number of stars as one of the input and the current rating. So the number of stars purely based on the input, whatever the parent sends. If he wants 4-star rating, he will send 4, and the rating is anything less than or equal to 4. So everything is dynamic. Nothing we are hard coding it there. So based on that, I'm telling that technically it should not be limiting us, but the use case, based on the use case, if you want to emit more than one emitter, there should be a good use case why you want to emit. There might be different places he's clicking on something or is deleting a record or whatever it is.
Okay. And the second question we have is, what data types are supported in parameters?
Oh, all the data types which you have as part of the let me understand that parameters of the emitters.
It is just
Should be
written like
should be for the parameters for the emitters. So all the parameters which is supported by JavaScript, all those 8 parameters. I'll give you yes, all the data types whatever we have. So we have string, string, number, boolean, null, undefined, symbol, and classes, the complex object or the scalar. Any type of data type which is supported, you can pass everything.
Okay. And one last question, is exception handling supported inside components for user input?
Yes, we have to. Everything is supported, but as we are taking baby steps, we will reach that when we are starting with our services. That's two sessions down the line. So next session is we will introduce the routing, so that at this point of time what is happening is we are having one app component and we are showing all these components within the same HTML piece. Now that means what is happening is now a component is acting as a directive. That means inside that app component we are saying that rating component or employees component or a professors list component. Now what is happening is that the app selector we are taking in and adding it within the app component HTML. That means this entire component is acting as a piece of HTML or a technically component as a directive. We are using a component as a directive. Now that in next session what we will do is we will have a routing. That means the URL we are saying that http colon localhost colon 4004. That's the one endpoint where we are using all these components as a directive, as an HTML markup we are using. So in the next episode, what we will do is like employee list will act as a component. It will not be like an directive. That itself will be a component. That means http colon localhost colon 4004 slash employees. So it will go and display employees list. That 4004 slash professors. So it will go and show the professors component. So at that point of time, what it is happening is based on the URL endpoint, we are showing the component as a visual look and feel. We are not showing the component as a directive. In that also we will do it because rating component is a shared component which has to be child of any component. So at that time, what is happening is the rating component is a acting as a directive for other parent component. But when we introduce a routing, at the time the component itself will be shown in its entirety.
Okay. Thank you so much, Swami. I mean, these were the only questions we have on the chat. And thank you so much again for, taking the time on a Saturday and sharing this wonderful topic with us.
Cool. I hope folks have enjoyed. So there are a lot of other actions which is going to come. Still 8 more sessions for us to learn more of Angular.
Right.
Cool. Thank you. Thanks so much, guys.
Bye-bye. Okay, so the next session we have is mine, and I'll be talking about the print functionality that is the recently released feature in Power Apps, Canvas apps. So let me share my screen. And I'll just add it to this. It is added. Okay, perfect. Okay, so welcome everyone. And in this session, we are going to talk about the newly released print feature in Power Apps. A little bit about myself before we start. I'm Ritika Agarwal and I work as the Power Platform team lead for Applied Info Services India Private Limited. I am also the UG leader for Hyderabad Power Apps and Power Automate user group. Apart from this, I am a Microsoft MVP and MCT for business applications. And if you want to connect to me, you can connect to me on Twitter or Google I have added my email ID here. I have also added my LinkedIn QR code so you can scan it and connect with me. Apart from this, I also like to blog about my learnings or whatever experience I have with the overall Power Platform stack. So I have a personal blog, and I really like to write about some cool stuff there. So you can also check out my website there, agarwalritika.com. Moving forward, what is print feature? Like, how is this feature needed? Why is this feature needed? And how we can use it to print stuff from our Canvas apps in the form of a PDF. So one of the major limitation we used to see in the Power Platform earlier was there was no print feature. We were not able to export any of the details. From our Canvas apps. So here with the newly released print feature, we have a new function, print, and then with that, we can print whatever is there on the canvas. We can print all the details which are showing up on the screen, be it any of the controls, either out of the box or your custom components. Then when we are printing the screen, there can be different screen size or modes that we are targeting. So here we have two print modes available for us. The one is landscape and the second one is portrait. This is wholly dependent on the size of the screen. So whatever your screen size is, you can choose the according mode. So how this works is we have, so as I mentioned earlier, we have a print function, and the other option is directly adding screens in your application. So here we have, if you go to like new screen, then we have two options, landscape and portrait. So then it will display a new screen which already has the print button available in it. And whenever you paste some controls or you display some data on top of it, you can click that button and it will point out or try to convert it into the print functionality. Like you can either select a printer if you have connected any to your system, or you can export it as a PDF file. So now, how does this work? How can we, use the print functionality and use it in our applications? So for that, you can use the print function. It does not accept any parameters. This function, you can, write it on any of the on select properties of your control. So with this print function, you can easily, select which part of your screen you want to display. I mean, that is supported when you apply some restrictions over the controls, but by default it print out the whole screen, like the active screen on which you are there. So this can be combined with any of the other functions as well. Let's say first I want to send out an email, and then I want to print something on my whatever the screen content is. So those things can be combined together, and you can use the print function to do it. Now, before we go into the restriction part, let me go back and I'll quickly show you what we have done here. So here I have created a Canvas app, and in this app I am basically showing a screen. So here I have categorized a few things. I'll walk you through, like if we are going through a normal screen route, or if we are creating a screen which is by default a portrait or a landscape one. So screen, I have named it as normal screen because I followed this route, like normal, new screen, and then blank. So I just created a blank screen, and then I placed number of controls on top of it. So if I go here, normal screen, you can see I have tried to add almost all type of controls which we can do on the screen here. So I have labels, buttons, inputs, radio buttons, check boxes, drop downs, combo boxes. This is an image, chart, icons, and there are like a plenty number of things that I have added here. So how this works is I added a button, this print screen button. And if you see on the on select property, I'm just saying that print. It doesn't accept any parameters. It's just taking, the current screen context and it will print it. So let me play this here and I'll just try to, print this screen. So if I click this print button now, as you can see here, it started or it captured a screenshot of my whole screen, whatever, was displaying there. If I cancel this and, I make some changes on the screen, like I want to say Ritika Agarwal here. And in this one also, I want to say Ritika Agarwal. So I have made some changes. Now let's see if it, picks the latest configuration of our screen or not. So if I go to print screen again, so as you can see here, now the input is updated. So whatever is the most recent state of your screen, it is going to display that, or it is going to, print that. So now if I go back and I try to, change it a little bit. Let's say now I want to send out an email. So let me add my Outlook connector here. Okay, I want to send out an email along with print. So I just added the connection, and now we'll change the expression on the on select property of this button to. First, we want to send out the email. So I'm going to say, okay, so the connection is, just getting added. It is taking a little bit of time. Okay, now it is added. Office 365 Outlook dot send email. And then I can pass the values inside of it. So now let me open my Outlook in the meanwhile. And we'll pass the parameters here. So this is just a test. So I want to send out an email to myself. And for that, I'm using the user.email parameters. And then I'll say this test email subject, and the body is going to be test email again. So I just added, an email action along with the print operation. While this formula is getting recognized, I'll just, open the app checker once this is loaded. So, yep, it is, and we don't have any errors. So what I'm going to do now is I'll print this again. So first it will send out that email for me, and then it is going to show me the preview. Let me see. Okay, I think the license expired on this account, so we won't be able to see the email now. But the point is, you can combine this expression, the print function, along with any of the other operations that you want to, perform at the same time. Moving forward, we have another type of screen here, like the portrait print, where I have just copied some of the controls from here, like from my first screen. And this is the by default screen which is available in here, like new screen and then portrait print. So if I select this one, I just created new screen. It created a new screen for me in this specific size, as you see here, like a blank white plain canvas. Even though the app that I have created, it is in landscape mode, but the screen that I have added, because it's portrait one, I can change the size here a little bit based on what I already selected in my app. Now if you see here, this is like, if you look at this print option here, it's not something which is very different. It is just a button, but they have changed the the colors and all a little bit, so that when you hover over it, it doesn't show you a background color and all that. But basically it's a button, and the screen comes when you create it is on a specific size, and then there is a button on top of it. So if I go back to my portrait screen here, I have added certain controls and I want to play it now. So, and if I do print, it is going to, capture whatever is there on my screen and then show it. One thing you should, take care while, printing this is, uh, the default setting of layout in the print settings is going to be what you selected last. So even though I created a portrait screen, but if I want to, print it as a portrait, I have to select it here, like portrait. Then my controls will be, much more intuitive, I can say, because now it is coming on the whole screen, whatever is getting printed, and the same was there in my app. But if I change this to landscape, then the size of the overall whatever thing I wanted to print, it will be small. The reason being, previously I was just considering like half of it, but now what I'm saying is I want to display it on a whole long page. So that's why the controls, or the whatever configuration you have on the screen, it will be a little shrinked. So just make sure when you're printing, you have the layout selected properly. Now, the second screen size we have is the landscape. So here also I've just, added a screen from here, like from new screen and then landscape print. I just added it here, and it gave me a screen of different size and then with the same button. And on top of it, I just added some controls myself. And from here, we can, easily display what is getting, printed. So if I go here again and I say print, so now you can see that, here I can also select any of the destinations. Right now, I don't have any, printers registered with my device, so it's not showing anything. But if you have printers attached, you can select the destination as that. Similar thing here, even though my screen was in a landscape mode, but my layout in the print screen is great. So if I want to change it, I can change this, and this will be in landscape mode, and this is more appropriate in terms of sizes because the content is coming properly based on what we were seeing earlier on the screen. One more thing I wanted to highlight here is, so there is one setting in the print section, which is like if you go to more settings, there is one as background graphics. So if I turn this off, let's observe the difference in the print which is happening here. So it has removed the picture which was there as media. So if you want all the content on your screen to be a part of this print section, make sure that you have enabled the background graphics here. And once you do that, all your backgrounds on the screen, or maybe any of the image controls, or any visual graphics, I can say, that you want to display, they will not be blocked while printing. So just check this background graphics option if you are not seeing the appropriate results. Moving forward, now I want to cover a little bit on this side for restricting the print sections. So now let's consider a scenario where I want to print the screen, but I don't really want to, place all the controls on that print canvas. It may be a situation that I only want a certain section of my screen to be visible or to be printed. In that case, we have a property like screen one dot printing. We can specify that, and we can add this expression in the visible property of controls which we want to hide. And again, this can be combined with other expressions as well. So like if I want to show hide a control based on some toggle button, or maybe some other input, then I can do that, and along with it I can just add a and condition and specify that this the specific expression that hide this control when my screen is getting printed. So here what I have done now is I have another screen on my app here, which I have named as partial printing. And one example that I want to show here is, let's say I'm printing this page. but I don't really want to print the print screen button. I mean, that won't make much sense on the item. So in that case, now if I go to print screen, it should not be visible on the printed canvas. So let's wait for the preview to load. Yeah. So now if you see, the print button has gone from here and it's no longer visible. Let's try that on the other screen, like the normal screen where we haven't added any partial visibility expression. So if I print the screen here, now it will be showing that button to me. Yeah. So the print screen button, it is showing now. So if we want, we can restrict, like we can combine the whole groups and the, hide multiple controls at the same time when we are printing it. So the only thing that you need to do here is I selected the print screen button on my partial printing screen. And if I go to the visible property, you can specify that not partial printing is the name of my screen. When this is not printing, hide it. Like hide this control. Show this control when my screen is not printing, and when it is printing, hide my control. Similarly, if I copy this, this thing on maybe let's say two other controls, the visible property, and I'll say this one, not partial printing, printing. Now, if I play this and I, do the print screen again, it should hide my button, this drop down control, and the pen input. So, yeah, with this, you can also restrict which part of the screen that is there that you wanted to, print out. Now, moving forward, let's talk a little bit about the limitations here for this print feature. So the print feature is currently not supported on mobile devices. It is only supported on your laptop or your desktop devices. If we talk about the classic browsers, the support or the behavior that you are going to see there may not be what you are expecting. So since they are the classic browsers with no longer which are no longer supported, so if you are opening this feature on any of those browsers, you may see some discrepancies too. Then the default browser printers are the one which will be available to print to. So if you have added any device, then only it will be visible. But if you have blocked any of the printers on the browser, then they won't be displayed. It is going to run on the browser properties. As I have talked about already about this fourth limitation we have here on the screen, if the background graphics property is not selected, it will not print out the appropriate capture of the screen, as the images or any visual graphics will not be displayed. So whenever you are printing, if there is a discrepancy in the data which is getting printed on the screen, then you can use this background graphics. Just check for this property, and if there are any issues, they can be viewed properly. Moving forward, this specific printed PCF is a Power Apps component framework, which is a code-based component. It is not available out of the box on our Canvas apps, but this is something which was developed by by Yash Agarwal, and as part of this component, he has displayed how you can export details of a gallery control, or maybe anything which is basically a table like format that you can print outside as like, and you can save it as a PDF or something. So basically like exporting of data. So now let me go back on the screen here where I have imported this code component. So this component is available as a managed solution. I'll just no, I opened the wrong one. This is the one. So on the PCF gallery, this component is available, and if you want, you can download the managed solution as well. So if you click on download button, it will take you to the GitHub repository where the code components reside, and you can download this managed solution and import it as part of your other solutions as well, like import it. You can import it here directly. So now what this component does actually. So maybe I'll just switch to this last screen here, the printed, which I want to demo. And here, if I play this, if I use the out of the box functionality, then what happens is if I print it, it is not going to give me all the uh, things which are available in my gallery. Instead, it will just capture me a screenshot of what is actually displaying on the screen. If I scroll the gallery a little bit and let's say I'm not showing top 3 items, then they won't be there in the print which we are doing on the screen. So with this one, if you see that we cannot really scroll because that's not a scrollable print. If I go back and I click on this printed component, as you can see here, I have 25 orders which I am displaying as part of this gallery, and now all of them are display are you can say published as a PDF. So because the most of the part of this printed document is empty, I'll just change the layout to portrait. And now if you see that the order number, customer, billing address, amount, whatever I'm showing here, this is exported as a document, and I can simply save it with the details like, okay, this was the data and now I want to export it. I can export it from the Canvas app itself. This is useful in cases, let's say, you are maintaining a customer management system, and as a customer, I want to see all the orders I have placed. Maybe I want to keep a copy of details I may have ordered for a certain set period of time. Right now we don't have any filters, but if you want, you can customize this gallery, and that is supported out of the box. But what about printing that whole thing as a new file? So in those cases, you can use this printed component. There is one thing that you have to just make sure is, when I select this component, here you have to pass what data you want to print. And let me open the blog post also, where we have this details about this PCF. And here, if you see that there is a property called data to print, and it is taking whatever we have as part of our gallery. So if you see, we are trying to convert it as a JSON here, and then in the concat, I am referencing this gallery, and with the field name and then its value, like with the help of a for each, not a for each loop. In this case, we are using the concat function. So it basically concatenates all the like if we have a list kind of a data, or maybe an array or collection, then it can parse over it and combine multiple columns at the same time. If you see the output here, you can see that this concat function is returning this data, like in the a little uh, light gray color screen of the screen here. Order number and then order number, customer and then customer one, billing address is address one, amount 500. It is converting it as a string, which is in the form of a JSON data. Now this is basically it is an array of different objects which contain same value like our order details. And if I print it, you can specify which columns are there. Let's say I want to customize it a little bit, and I want to maybe remove the billing address here. So I'll close this, and here in the printed, what I'm going to do is, let's remove the customer, because I am the customer. I don't really want to see my name everywhere. So here I'm going to remove this part of my code. So I just removed it, and this remains like the billing address and all that. Now if you see the output here, it is an array of objects, and then the order number, billing address, and amount. I'm not passing the customer anymore, even though it exists in my gallery. Now if I print it, I should be able to only see 3 columns. Yeah. So the customer column is gone now. This way you can, combine these features. I mean, probably at some time they will release this new feature where you can directly, export the content as, or the content of this scrollable gallery as a document. So probably it will be there, this in some later time. But until it is not, we can use this printed component, and you can get it from the PCF gallery. And if you want to, walk through what is the process followed and how you can use this component, then you can refer to this blog as well. And here on the GitHub, the managed solution and the unmanaged solution are also available. So if you want, you can use it. This is an open source component, and if you want, you can customize on top of it, and then you can use it inside your applications as well. That's all I have that I wanted to talk about today. Finally, thank you so much everyone for joining us today, and so joining this on a Saturday, and then hearing us and talking about these cool stuff. Finally, on the screen here, I have my LinkedIn code, so you can scan it and connect with me in case you have any questions. Yash, anything that you want to add here?
Not much. I just want to share that if anybody wants to speak in our upcoming events, please feel free to reach out to us on Twitter, LinkedIn. Just drop a message on the chat somewhere so we can reach out to you in case you wanted to speak. So that's pretty much from my side. And thank you everybody for joining again. Thank you, Ritika, and thank you, Swami. You are great as usual. So that's all from me. Thank you again.
Thank you all. We'll meet next month. See you there.
Yeah,
Thank
sure.
you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.